How long ago did you proclaim involvement with LGBTQ?
I think it was probably about 1994. I
Oh,
was a little late coming to the party. I was in denial for a very long time.
yeah,
But what I did find is that when I did come to grips with this, which isn't an easy thing when you're first coming out, and I did come out to friends and family, I have never been able to surprise anybody with this. They all knew long before I knew. So I wish they told me. That would have saved a lot of trouble over the years.
that's
But
the unlikely road to Biloxi, the unlikely road, the journey to Biloxi.
the journey really came out of necessity. We first got priced out of the Bay Area and we moved up to the Sacramento area where we both had a lot of family. And we were there for about 10 years, was it 11 years?
Ah,
And we were seeing prices rise. And then what we were really seeing was COVID hit.
um,
And we were very nervous that our landlord would need his house back. So we had a little bit of a nest egg and not enough to buy a house in California, but a house to buy a house somewhere.
right.
So we started a nationwide Zillow hunt for months. And we started zeroing in on that we wanted a temperate climate.
Yeah.
And I have a good friend's daughter lives in New Orleans, and we started sending her around, looking around New Orleans. Still kind of expensive, still kind of dangerous. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's got a very high crime rate, right?
it does, it
Yeah.
does. And it's very crowded. And Sacramento is crowded and dangerous too. So we were like looking forward to getting out of there. And I came home from work one day, and my wife says to me, "What about Biloxi?" And I said, "Mississippi? Really?" But we started looking at images and pictures, and then we started looking at the real estate prices.
Yes.
And wow, there was nothing that we've seen anywhere in the country that could compare with my getting to live on the beach again
Yeah.
and paying under $300,000 for a house.
So tell me about, you call it the hidden South Coast, I think.
It's the secret coast
The
down
secret
here.
coast.
Mississippi hosts 26 miles of white sand beaches. One of the things, there have been a lot of pluses to moving here, which some that we expected, some that we didn't expect. One of the biggest is that it's a very small community.
Yeah.
Ocean Springs only has 17,000 people. And that's, I think, on a good day. I think that's factoring everybody in. We are now one of the most Republican conservative states in the union. The
Right.
top three, I think, are us, Alabama, which is right next door, and
Yeah.
Wyoming, which sort of surprised me.
Oh,
But
yeah. Yeah. And so it's been like that for a long time. It's pretty entrenched, right? And
absolutely.
yeah, but yet, what percentage is Black, is African American of the state?
Where we are in a bubble down here, Johnny. We really are, because we are in what, being California, I always try to put things in California terms. We're in like the Carmel of Mississippi.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are like the highest finances. We're predominantly white down here in these bottom three counties. But I know if you go up to Jackson and go up
Right.
north, even Hancock County, things like that, Stone County, you're probably looking at a 60 to 70% Black
Yeah.
population. It's very diverse. It's an artist community, so everybody's very accepting. Where we landed was fine. I don't know if we went somewhere farther up north if we would have done as well. Neighbors on both sides of us and down the street, everybody's been so welcoming. But we do have a house right across the street, and Johnny, they would rather fall off the roof than wave hello. I
Yeah.
don't know if they think their kids are going to catch it or what their fear is, but they will not say hello. They will not even let their kids trick or treat to this house. I've seen them go around our house.
Right. Well, but you do have candy waiting for them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But besides the LGBTQ issue, what about liberal, conservative, right wing, Trump, Democratic
We
Party?
are
Yeah.
still a little surprised at how Trumpy a lot of the area is.
Yeah.
And they're very, very proud of it. And what I have found though is more so than in California, people here don't seem, at least to us, they don't talk politics.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll post it on social media sometimes, but I mean, I know that my realtor, good friend Lynn and her husband, I know they must be staunch Republicans, but it has never one time come up.
Uh,
So, whereas in California, even people that we thought were close friends of ours, when Trump won,
yeah.
we ended up in arguments with them and they had to keep bringing it up and keep bringing it up because it was like they were pushing our buttons.
So you haven't had any, and you got to make up an incident for this interview. You
Well,
haven't had,
we've
haven't,
had things
yeah,
happen. I don't want to say happen because it makes it more dramatic than it is,
yeah,
but we've encountered people that are very right wing and make offhand comments to you, not necessarily realizing who they're talking to. I don't
yeah,
know if they think we're the Golden Girls and we're just roommates or what they think. I like to kind of take it as a compliment that we are so natural and so safe and confident in ourselves that
yeah,
they don't even realize that
yeah,
the things
yeah,
they're saying. We've had delivery drivers make comments about the N-word people
right.
down, wherever. And that was shocking. I mean, here again, you and I are from more cosmopolitan areas. What they call downtown in Biloxi
Yeah, yeah.
is really 3 casinos and some restaurants. There's no high rises, there's no office buildings, there's nothing that you would expect. There's still constant reminders of Katrina down here. It's taken them a very long time to recover. So there are a lot of open fields where houses were. There are a lot of green placards up where historical homes were that got knocked down, or historical churches that got knocked down. So Katrina is still very present in all their minds. It comes into conversation all the time. And when you're driving around or going anywhere, you still see it. There's a very famous restaurant down here called Mary Mahoney's, and they have a level on the wall, which is about 6 feet high, and it says Katrina level.
But it reopened and it's okay now.
Yeah, and they've been there since 1797. So they were going to reopen literally hell or high water. So
Well, but so is that, yeah, that might be upsetting to hear so much about Katrina. Is that
it's
depressing?
it's kind of depressing, but they also are all justifiably very proud of having recovered the way they have within the
Right.
poorest state in the union. I mean, they have done a really, I think, phenomenal job.
So the whole redneck concept, you don't run into almost at all.
You see it, but it's not. That's what I told him. Some of the delivery drivers and workers
Yeah,
and stuff, but I find that people are not as in my face about the politics as they were in California. I
yeah.
feel like the neighbors have never once brought it up. I don't know how they vote. They don't know how we vote. But in California, we knew every single person on the block. And then, sometimes you get closer to an election, there'll be some signs, but generally, the rednecks
here is just
way down here is not so much. You'll see a few pickup trucks with the American flag or whatever on there, and there's sometimes some vendors selling Trump stuff on the side of the road, but it's very easy to not have to be involved with it. So
Yeah, what about the Confederacy? Because, like the insurrection now is really, analogous to the
it is.
Confederacy,
That's a good
right?
point.
Yeah. I mean, do you see a lot of Confederate flags or things like that?
Well, they gratefully just took it off the state flag 3 years
Oh,
ago. So
oh,
we have a new flag here in Mississippi that doesn't have the Confederate flag. But we do have down here, which was interesting to me, Jefferson Davis was from
oh,
here.
oh,
And
he was
his
from
home is
Biloxi?
down here. It's called Beauvoir.
Okay.
And they do tours, and there's a library and a museum and a lot of the original buildings. And there's also a huge Confederate graveyard out in the back,
Um,
and they keep all the Confederate flags on all those graves.
so the people across the street who really love you and won't let their kids, is that out of politics or out of anti-gay or just ignorant or
We
just
believe it's anti-gay.
anti-gay? Yeah, yeah. What do you think is going to get more intense as we get closer to the election? Not nationally. We know that's going to get very intense, but where you are, what do you think might happen?
I don't know, because again, people don't talk about it so much here. The only thing I can think of is if the election somehow goes to Biden, you are going to see a lot of unrest and it will come in the streets here. That I could see happening
It
because
will come in the streets?
I think it'll come in the streets
Oh,
here. I think that the young guys in their pickup trucks with the Trump flags, the real redneck guys,
Yeah.
I think that we will definitely see an uprising on some level in the streets. I don't know how bad it's going to get here,
Yeah,
but I think you and I both know it's going to get bad a lot of
a
places.
lot of places, I know. Well, I mean, you're able to smile about it, but that's just defense mechanism, right?
I think it's a defense mechanism, and I think it's also feeling pretty lucky that we landed in exactly, even within Ocean Springs where we landed. We are in a little side pocket. We are off on a side bayou.
Yeah,
We're insulated with our neighbors who some are from California, some are from
right.
Wisconsin, some are from everyone's from somewhere else, and they're all. I think we have might be a false sense, but we feel fairly safe here.
Any connection? Is there a gay community that's open, that has a pride thing?
There's a gay bar down in Biloxi. They've been there for like 50 years, and they're
Can't tell it's a gay bar.
well, they've got big in rainbow letters, "Love is love" on the outside of their building. I think if it's like code word, if you know what they're talking about, then you'll know what it is. But we have not had anyone that we've become friendly with or anything have it be an issue whatsoever. And our neighbors have even come and spent Christmas with us. So, in our family.
What about the whole library controversy about,
They are,
and the libraries at
are
school?
fighting it pretty hard there, but it's an uphill battle because these are Fox News viewers here. So I think that's you've probably hit on where we see more of it than anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah. So what
affecting us.
Right. So what you see is attempts to ban books or to
the attempts to ban books, and the libraries waging a brave battle to feature those books.
Oh,
and
good.
yeah, they're trying hard. They have a whole bookcase of these are the ones they're telling you not to read.
Oh, really?
So they're trying really hard. I'm sure that they're not enjoying the town council meetings or anything.
And what does CC stand for?
It's just my first and last name, Celia Chernev. My poor mom her mom was named Celia. And then my dad had not one, but two aunts named Celia. So when I made the scene, she had to name me Celia, but she didn't want to. So she named me Celia, but she started calling me Cece just so she had some control over it, I guess. But
you said that you have a grandfather on your father's side who was a major chess player.
he was indeed, and his name is still hallowed in the halls, and there are tournaments in his name and all this good stuff. And I do, as the sole grandchild, I am the one holding the rights to all the books, which is kind of interesting. But he was originally he was born in Russia, Ukraine, depending what year it was.
Yeah.
And he came over, I want to say in 1905. To New York, and was a lifelong New Yorker until my folks moved to California and had me. And then he and grandma had to move to California so they could be near me. So they were all in San Francisco then. And oh, did that man love San Francisco? Yeah, he thought he died and gone to heaven. And he was constantly going out to dinner, and he had a little black book, and he would write notes in there about what he had and who the server was, and he was quite an impression. But he also had a hand in teaching Bobby Fischer how to play chess.
Wow.
He was there at the time. And when Bobby Fischer died, I asked, my grandmother was still alive. I asked her, I said, "Oh, did you hear that Bobby Fischer died?" And she says, "Oh, that kid was a nut job."
Most definitely.
Okay, so that's definitely my take on it. I've looked you up on YouTube, and we were watching some of your videos. How long have you been wanting to do like YouTube and make a presence via these more modern technologies?
Maybe my whole life. I mean, when I was this is kind of a joke, maybe I was about 17, and I said, I've always had this absurd humor, but it was maybe partly true. And I said to my parents, I said, if I could have 1 week on a national network TV show as like the anchorman, I could solve all the problems of the country. So I've always had
let's vote for you. Can I vote for you?
Yeah. So I've always been interested in media, So in terms of contemporary stuff, I've done writing, freelance to some extent, but I became a therapist after many veering, a long journey about 25 years ago. And it's kind of like, and so it's a natural compatibility,
I could
but
see you being very effective because you're a very good listener and you're very intelligent, which I think is important in a counselor. I've had a couple counselors in my day that were not very
they're not.
intelligent.
I know. And that's pretty surprising. I mean, I'm not taking credit for being so intelligent, but I feel flattered. I like explaining complex things in simple terms. I like relating to people of all kinds. Like what you were talking about in California is very problematic for me too. Um, because I mean, I haven't lived there in a long time, but I know from other places here in Massachusetts too, that it's too conformist in that way, on the left side, and too intolerant in some ways from that perspective.
That's exactly it. That's
Right.
exactly it.
And also too not grounded, really ungrounded to some extent.
It's hard. I mean, California is a hard thing because it really came about by free thinkers
Yeah,
and bohemians and hippies or
right,
whatever
right.
terminology we want to use. And, social rejects from other places,
Yeah.
forming this new, let's head west, young man. But now between the .com people having
Oh yeah.
such a stronghold, especially in the
Yeah.
Bay Area,
Right.
and then down south, you've got entertainment, which is no longer art, it's a business. So
Right.
you've got these big business things in an area that was founded on art and inclusion. And
Yeah.
I think it's just coming to a head now is what's really, and maybe it's due to Trump and MAGA and,
Yeah. Oh
people are
yeah.
wearing their hearts on their sleeves, but it's
Right.
it's really unfortunate because it was a very golden place, honestly, to grow up and live, and you live there as well. And to
And
be
I
surrounded by art and culture, and now I don't feel like that's there. And like we were just saying, these are all really complex issues. There's
yeah,
not a black and a white. And all that these people, both sides, are doing are shouting out, they're regurgitating what they hear in the media.
yeah,
They don't really understand what the bigger picture is or the finer points of the issues. And I myself, I don't know, maybe I'm enlightened, but I don't want to talk about things that I don't really understand, but they
yeah.
have no compunction about going out there and shouting from the rooftops, even
Oh
though
well,
they have
that's
no
true.
idea what's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. No, that's true on the college campus thing, the takeovers and all that. But
Mhm.
but the one difference is that the right wing and the ultra right wing, they're armed. Those are people who are armed. Many of them were trained in the military. And even though the military itself is very solidly patriotic, solidly civilized, and solidly integrated in so many ways, but people leaving the military have become leaders of all these ultra right groups. Maybe not all of them, but yeah, many of them. And they're armed and they believe in going whatever they need to do
Yep.
to protect that. And that's not true on the left side in that way.
That's exactly what Kim's always saying. The right is always doing and saying and yelling and doing whatever they want. And on the left, we're all like, oh, we just need to wait and see.
Yeah,
Maybe it'll be all right. And it's like, we're past that now.
way
It's not going
past.
to be all right.
I know, way past. And they've been arming themselves for years. The survivalists, I mean, all that stuff. It's been, like you said, it's a long time coming. So I've gotten really, I read something last night that a guy running for governor in North Carolina is a Holocaust denier. Guy running for governor. And it doesn't mean he's going to win, but it's
They
really,
probably will with the way these things are going. I mean,
yeah,
never in my life did I think I'd be a Liz Cheney fan, but
yeah,
I'm not
yes.
like a Liz
Oh, me
Cheney
too.
fan.
We all did. We all became Liz Cheney fans. Yeah, and but at the same time, I love humor. I mean, I'm not a one-dimensional person, of course. I love humor. I love irony. I love absurd humor.
I
Uh,
love absurd humor. I love
yeah,
sarcastic humor. I tend a little
sarcastic.
too much towards sarcasm, and
Yeah.
people don't usually get it. They
No,
think
they
I'm
don't.
serious. Yeah.
They definitely don't.
I want to
And
run one more Trump thing by you because it's a
yeah.
theory I've had for some time, and Kim thinks I'm right. Now, you got to watch some of his back footage, but he still does it. Even the last election, he is always like signaling things with his hands.
Oh,
And I don't know if anyone's noticed that. I don't know if it's going to the Proud Boys. I don't know who the heck he's doing these things to, but you watch him and he's always making, and it's like, what is that? I sent it to Rachel Maddow, but she didn't ever reply. I'm like,
yeah.
someone's got to like be telling me who is he saying?
Who was he talking to?